Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Hey, the other day, one of the boss guys asked me into the office. He was quizzing me about the vital behaviors and golden rule and our guiding values that we have at the mine site. And he just asked me to, whenever I get a chance, to try and reinforce those around the job site the best that I can. So I started thinking about, what's the best way that I could do that. I actually thought about the idea of using subliminal messages, but really, I would never do that. I mean, for one, I don't believe in subliminal messages being effective. Sure, there's been a little bit of research to show that they have some effect on people, but honestly, the bulk of the studies show that it's a bunch of hooey. It doesn't really do anything. And secondly, even if it did work, I think using subliminal messages in a culture where we're supposed to support and develop people, it just seems really manipulative and inhumane to me. So that's not anything I would ever even think about doing to my coworkers, out at Newmont. So since I can't go that route, I thought maybe I'd tell you a story or two and hopefully give you a good takeaway, with the idea or the theme being, what are the chances? People buy lottery tickets every day, lots of them, even though they know that they're much more likely to be struck by lightning than to actually win the lottery. But still, we buy the tickets because we think, well, somebody has to win. Somebody's number will come up, and we look on TV and we see the news and we see these big winners, and it happens. It happens to real people. So even though the odds might be 1 in 10 million, we still do it. By the way, in doing a little bit of digging around for some pictures to make this video, I came across this one. This is evidently a real lottery story. Amazing. When it comes to safety, the whole lottery scenario is true, but in an inverse way. That serious or life-threatening incident or accident may be a real long shot, but just about every day, somebody's number really does come up. With the lottery, they say you can't win if you don't play, but this is one lottery that we want to do everything we can to ensure that our number does not come up. A few years ago, I was with my family at SeaWorld, and we went there and we went to the Birds of Prey show, and they had this blimp up about probably 200, 300 feet in the air. It was way up there, and inside of the blimp was some bird of prey. And so the guy was down there with the sheath or whatever it is on his arm, and they hit a remote, opened the door, and this thing just came barreling straight down. And about halfway down, I noticed just a little bit off of its flight path, here comes this pigeon just kind of lumbering along. And as you might imagine, it was just a bunch of feathers. That was a bird that was just minding its own business. It was just another day for that bird. It obviously wasn't very aware of its environment, and its number came up that day. Many of you remember the Randy Johnson pitch, pro baseball pitcher. Same situation. You look at that and you have to say, what are the chances of that happening? What are the odds? I used to live up in Portland, Oregon, and for a bigger city, Portland is kind of a small, big city, and the basketball team up there is the Portland Trail Blazers. And so because it was only about 500,000 population, much smaller than some of the other metropolises, you'd see these guys in stores, you'd see them around town. It was fairly common. When you walk down a grocery aisle and you pass a 7-footer, it gets your attention. Those guys are just huge. But imagine being a coach or just anybody who is around those guys every day. And it wouldn't take very long before you wouldn't even be thinking about their size. They would just be another person, because it would be something you would get used to. And I think back to my first day driving a truck and pulling up to a shovel, and it was kind of intimidating, and the shovel operator reminded me of the Caesars and the Gladiator days up there in their glass case, and it's like if I back up wrong, he's going to go, off with his head. But anyway, I remember backing up, and the size of that shovel bucket was awe-inspiring to me. It was amazing how big that thing was. Well, now, after doing it for a while, the size and the impact of how giant it is tends to wear off over time. However, we would do well to remind ourselves that the equipment that we're working with is gigantic equipment. It has to be that way to get the job done, but in being as big as it is, it's also big enough to kill, and we should never let that impact be lost on us.